The Canadian North has always been a land of bounty. Men came from far and wide, drawn to the promise of gold and riches, and few ever left with more than the clothes on their backs. Towns sprang up to serve these foolhardy adventurers, both the high and the low. 3 men had come north to seek their fortune. They had labored for months, panning for gold, and by the end of summer had amassed a small sum. So they gathered together in town, bought a few supplies, and headed south. Tom had been a school teacher who left to find a better life. Ward had been a Mountie. He hadn't liked being the enforcer of foreign laws on people who had laws of their own. And Klaus, a wild-eyed traveler who had come across the sea to make his name. 2 weeks' ride had put them in the middle of a dense black forest. Klaus felt a sense of dread, which spread to the other 2. They paused for the night near the edge of a river, caught some fish, and cracked open the whiskey. Klaus got a little close to the edge of the soft, wet riverbank. He slid down in the mud. They all laughed and fell asleep. In the morning, they woke to find Klaus standing looking around him in horror. He was surrounded by skulls and bones, unearthed in the mud. Clearly, Chippewayan remains, although why there were so many was a mystery. They left quickly. As they continued, they felt a presence around them. At night, they took turns sleeping, although no one slept much. They finally found their way to the edge of the woods and onto the open prairie. They were relieved, but their relief was short-lived. The feeling of a figure following them continued, and now they felt completely exposed, so they didn't sleep. They stopped when the horses were too exhausted to go on. They all sat watch at night. One night they heard a sound, felt a presence, so they all fired their guns into the night, hoping to drive away anyone out there. The air was filled with the terrible sound of animal screams. As the sun rose, they saw that they had shot 4 of their own horses, and there was a bigger discovery to be made. Klaus lay dead. He hadn't been shot. He lay there frozen in terror, but otherwise unhurt. They buried him on the prairie, loaded what possessions they were able to carry, and made for the mountains. They drove themselves yet harder, knowing that their only hope was to cross the pass before the first snow. They took turns walking to give the remaining horses some relief, but they began to die until only one was left. They buried most of their gold with a marker, vowing to return in the spring, and began the climb through the mountains. Cold terror hounded each step until they reached the high mountain path and saw the long and dangerous road ahead. Ward stopped. He had a strange, resigned look. "We aren't meant to leave here. This land extracts payment for the evil men do," and launched himself into the void. Tom slumped down. He knew his chance of survival was simply to cross this one final pass. As he sat there, he looked up. It began to snow.